What is a dead giveaway that you're being cheated on? My ex would sleep with her phone under her pillow. I had an idea it was happening and would keep an eye on this guy's MySpace. Then he posted one of the questionnaire things that were popular at the time. One of the questions was, who did you last kiss? And his answer was my ex. MySpace Tom had my back. A lot of you seem to think that she might have been browsing the internet. This was a time before internet was available on your phone. There was nothing to do on a phone other than call and text. Most phones also didn't screen locks with passwords or facial recognition. Anyone could get on your phone, so the best way to avoid this would be hide it or sleep with it under your pillow, so if someone does try to get it, they wake you up. Preoccupation with the phone is a big one, IMO. I mean, we're all preoccupied with our phones, but when they won't ever leave it unattended, even just sitting there across the room, or when they'll only place it face down, or when they won't show you something on their phone because a text or call could come through. Ask me how I know. When she tells you she's having dinner with her brother while you're having dinner with her brother. Had something similar. She said she was at work, and I happened to be nearby and decided to stop in and see if she wanted to take her lunch break with me. Show up. Oh, she's not scheduled to come in today. Me texting her immediately after, how's work? Ain't gonna lie, it was super satisfying to call her and keep up the charade for a bit before saying, I know you weren't working today. Sounds to me like her brother is the real problem here. That problem being that must be one hell of a handsome Sanofa, to get his own sister to cheat on her husband with him and then also get the husband at the same time. And the balls of steel he must have to go on a dinner with you knowing your wife was also supposed to go out with dinner with him. I mean, as a hetero male, I must say, I think I'm in love with your ex's brother. You come home exhausted from work and your partner accuses you of cheating. My ex used to get so angry if I walked in the door and went to pee right away. I drive an hour home from work due to traffic. Having to pee is not abnormal. He made it a thing. The bathroom was right inside the door, and he would be at the other end of the house. Apparently going into the bathroom before seeing him was equivalent to me washing off the scent of my lover. Every time he accused me of anything, when back, that's exactly what he was guilty of. My sister's ex-husband was cheating on her and was projecting it onto her for a long time before she found out. If she was out with friends, he'd constantly text her asking where she was and who she was with, because when he was out with friends, he was actually out with his side piece. Stole the dog too, and had the nerve to tell my sister he didn't want him dog to be confused about who his mom is. Mind you, this was my sister and his shared dog for several years. Scummy piece of. She hasn't seen the dog in years. Your dog vomits another woman's underwear. I had just arrived home from work when I wanted to take the dog out for his walk. Normally, I wait, but this time, my big dog named Yami would not stop whining and protesting near the door. This usually means he wants to go out to either walk or poop. Again, I was tired, so I called out to my husband who was showering. This detail will become important soon. Yami has always been pretty great at eating just about all the small knickknacks that people bring over. I think something about the smell triggers his animal instinct to chew on the unchewables. We hit the pavement, and I guess we hit it a bit too hard because there I was face to face with an abnormally large pile of puke. Normally, I would look away in disgust, but there was a bit of pink mixed in with the usual bile and canned food. Curious, I grabbed a nearby stick and began foraging through the coughed up mess. It was torn, so I had to spread it out like some forensic scientist, but the floral patterns and size became clear to me. Underwear. Yami is banned from our room due to his prolific taste in undergarments. All my underwear comes from a specialty store because hey, I'm a big girl, so there was no way these could be mine. So we made our way back to the scene of the crime. There was my husband fresh from the shower with this stupid smile on his face. I'll remember the words he uttered. Hey honey, is everything okay with Yami? He was howling a lot, but I was busy, so I couldn't check on him. I withheld the evidence in one of Yami's doggy bags for poop, so he couldn't see it just yet. My love for my husband was immense, so in my throes of emotion, I was going to give him one chance to come clean. What were you doing? That was when my husband decided to remind me that in 1998, The Undertaker threw mankind off hell in a cell, and plummeted 16 feet through an announcer's table. Once upon a time, there was a small town where everyone knew each other. The town was peaceful and quiet until one day, something strange happened. A dog, named Max, had vomited a pile of women's underwear in the middle of the town square. Everyone was stunned. They couldn't understand how a dog had gotten hold of so many pairs of underwear. The women of the town were especially upset, as some of the underwear looked very familiar. They immediately suspected foul play and started to point fingers at each other. As the rumors spread, the town became more and more divided. Some believed that one of their own was responsible for this bizarre act, while others were convinced that it was an inside job by one of the local shops. The town council held a meeting to discuss what to do next, but they couldn't come to a conclusion. One day, a new resident moved into town. Her name was Sarah, and she had a dog of her own. Sarah was a kind and gentle person, and she quickly made friends with everyone in the town. However, when she heard about the strange incident with Max, she was curious. She decided to investigate on her own. Sarah talked to Max's owner, and she learned that the dog had a habit of digging through people's trash cans. She also discovered that there was a laundry service in the town that was known for losing items. Sarah put two and two together and figured out that Max had likely gotten hold of the underwear by digging through the trash of the laundry service. Sarah went to the laundry service and confronted the owner. She explained her findings and asked the owner to be more careful with the items they were washing. The owner was shocked to hear what had happened and apologized for the inconvenience. He promised to tighten up their security and make sure that nothing like this ever happened again. The town was relieved to learn the truth, and they apologized to Max's owner for suspecting him. They also thanked Sarah for her quick thinking and detective work. From that day on, the town was a little more careful with their trash, and Max stopped digging through it. In the end, everyone learned a valuable lesson about jumping to conclusions and the importance of being kind and considerate to others. Max became a hero in the town, and everyone loved him even more for his silly antics. Sarah and her dog settled into the town and became a beloved part of the community. And so, the story of the dog that vomited women's underwear became a legend in the town, a reminder of the power of friendship, kindness, and determination. The town remained peaceful and happy for many years to come. My parents were both vets, and they have a hilarious story that's similar to this one. They were both doing their residencies in upstate New York, and were living on a small farm with a roommate. Now, being vets, they owned 4 dogs. One of these dogs was a 250 pounds. I kid you not, mastiff that loved to eat random stuff. One day, this dog starts acting strangely and looks like it's in pain. Naturally, they take him to the vet school to get looked at, and they figure that he had eaten something. This is where the story gets wild. The roommate was dating another vet student who specialized in something that allowed for her to perform the necessary operation on the dog. So it's my mom, dad, and their roommate watching the roommate's girlfriend and another student cut this giant dog's stomach open. Eventually, she finds the underwear that the mastiff ate. When the girlfriend pulls the underwear out of the dog, she looks at it and says, "That's not mine. Mom's name, is this yours?" Now, my mom is a fairly pragmatic and frugal woman, and this was a wide designer thong. So she laughs and says no, and the roommate's face fills with fear as he is confronted with a very angry, slightly crazy, now ex-romantic partner holding a very soiled pair of underpants and a very sharp medical tool. I had suspicions that my ex was cheating on me for months. One night, she invites me out, half-hearted invite to go drinking with her girlfriends. I decline as I wanted her to have her own friends outside of our relationship. She's all happy and humming, something she never did before. She takes a shower, then I see she's getting all dolled up, like I haven't seen in years. Not only that, but she's wearing her Yes underwear, the stuff she wore to signal she was horny. I simply say, "Why are you wearing that?" And she says, "It's just what I grab." So I said, "You know what? Give me a few minutes to get ready. I think I will go out with you tonight." She had a complete meltdown, starts accusing me of accusing her of cheating, and not trusting her and hurting her feelings. Of course, I was a fool and let her play me, and I end up apologizing. But I knew, however, things went down and all knowledge of that kind of left my mind, until years after she had left me, and I remembered all that and other stuff. She was cheating, I've no doubt about it. When he returned from a business trip, his checked bag was missing. I was picking him up from the airport like usual, and he didn't want me to go with him to file a baggage claim. Something seemed dicey, so I checked his flight number. He wasn't coming from Seattle like he stated, but from Massachusetts. I went in his backpack and found a stub for a whale watching trip that confirmed it. Then I found a second cell phone. Spider Sense is always reliable. Here's a fun one courtesy of my dad and his second wife. When the tire tread pattern on the fresh snow in your driveway matches the uncommon tires on your brother-in-law's new work vehicle. Got way more confused replies than I expected on this. My dad's second wife, not my mother, was having an affair with my uncle, my dad's sister's husband. His brother-in-law and my dad figured it out after coming home early from work one night and noticing a distinctive tire width and tread pattern in his driveway that matched my uncle's work truck, who had no reason for being there that night. He went inside and asked her if had been there, and she acted surprised and denied it. He then mentioned the tire marks and why he recognized them, and the house of cards promptly crumbled. They tell you in a moment of anger, then try to pull it back. My ex and I had a dead bedroom for over a year at a certain point. Our relationship was pretty much crumbling, and due to both her physical and emotional abuse, I could not touch her anymore. She would often say that she would cheat on me if I was not going to touch her anymore. Eventually, her friend I was told not to worry about turned out to be a friend I should have worried about, but I was just glad that things were over. I didn't know this happened to other people too. I confronted my girlfriend. For hours she denied it, and then finally, she says, I didn't favk him, I just svicked his. Is that what you wanted to hear? No, that's not what I wanted to hear. I told her she could sleep here, but she needed to get out in the morning and rolled towards the wall. Then it's all apologies, and in the morning, she said she made it up to make me jealous, mad. But I was already jealous, mad, so I'm not sure how that made any sense. The next morning was just her backpedaling, saying how much she loved me, etc. As men, we really have to try to think with our big brain, and not our little brain. When you ask who's gonna be there, and she starts a huge fight, and is like you're a piece of, I can't be here with you, I have to get away from you, I'm leaving. When you show up at the bar, and she cuddled up in a booth with one guy, and none of her friends are there, she freaks out on you and leaves with him, and doesn't come home for 3 days. Did I mention I had the cheaters camera crew with me at the bar? Vast majority of calls she'd be on speakerphone, involving me in conversations I had no interest in, asking what I thought with her friends still on the line. Literally the first time she left the room to take a call I knew something was up. And text messages too. I never read or paid attention to them, but before there'd be notifications pop up on the screen regularly, then one day, the phone pinged, but no preview message. She barely knew how to change her ringtone. I knew she must have asked someone how to stop preview notifications come up. Within a month she needed space and moved her things out. My boyfriend takes his phone everywhere with him, even if he's just going to take a piss or to smoke a cigarette. I hate that this thread is making me so paranoid. Lamal. Before he also told me that I can look through his phone when he's present. He knows I have severe trust issues, which I'm trying to fix, but the last time I asked to do that, he refused to give it to me and got angry. It also doesn't help that I've found a folder full of pictures of his ex in his gallery, right on the front page, and the cover photo was a nude. I was the night owl, so I'd still be on my phone when she was falling asleep. So I would angle my phone away so it wouldn't be so bright in her eyes, which I thought was considerate. I assumed she thought that was shady. Eventually, she went through the messages on my phone, saying I had all these spam texts saying things like, I've got those Y photos you wanted. Just click this link. And yes, she clicked on the links. Probably tried logging onto sites with our regular passwords too. Accused me of cheating. Eventually, we broke up. Turned out she was banging her boss, probably the whole time. I was in a DV situation, and he was an hole all around, but that's also how I knew about the cheating. Out of nowhere, he would start sleeping with his phone in his pocket. Instead of plugging it in, he would ask me to set alarms because his phone was dead, and I'd be like, just plug it in. He wouldn't leave it in the same room as me even for a second. One time, he plugged it in when it was dead. Then he had to leave the room for not even a minute and unplugged it when it hadn't even turned on yet to bring it with him. It was also with a coworker. He wouldn't want me or anyone I was in contact with to go to his job. His mom went once for a car part, and he was beyond angry. She even walked into the store. Dumbass thought my friend who worked there and got him the job wouldn't rat him out to me. This can be a big one, but one that I struggle with. My ex was toxic and abusive. She used to insist on going through my phone. When I didn't let her, she'd make my life hell. I'd never cheated, but it turns out she had. I guess it was projection. So now, we're really cagey about my phone. I keep it close to my person and get irritable when my now wife, not the same person, asks to use it. I'm actively unlearning the habit and making myself hand it over more often. She understands the issue and has been so supportive in helping me pack that past experience away. When they suddenly start taking extra interest in their appearance and getting in shape by going for walks, even up to PM by the time they return, and they don't answer your worried calls because they had music on with headphones. And when you ask them why they didn't answer, it's because they didn't hear the calls come in despite you having the exact same phone, and know that the incoming calls cut over the music. Just anytime they don't respond to a worried text when they aren't home when they said they'd be. I cannot believe how much of a fool I was in my late teens and early 20s. I lived with two separate partners who wouldn't come home from work until 2 a.m. or later. After getting off at like 6 or 7, I'd call and text a few times around 10 to ask if they were okay or when they'd be home. Usually their phones would die at some point. They would tell me I was overreacting for calling, texting so many times. I'd go back and forth between being angry that they were ignoring me and worried that maybe they got hit by a car or something on their way home. When their roommates asked to meet with you privately and tell you that your girlfriend was having someone over in their room with the music on loud. The same thing she'd do when we'd get busy at her place. First time ever, rip my inbox. This was in 2009. We were almost 4 years into our relationship. I was getting ready to defend my thesis for my master's and she was applying to PAAHDAADDDDHEHE programs. I was willing to move with her wherever she went, and even had my mom help me find a nice white gold ring with a sapphire. The ex-girlfriend hated diamonds as an engagement ring. Alternatively, if not accusatory, they are asking you constantly what you'd do if they cheated. Like some sort of litmus test or something. My ex-fiancé asked me that a ton over the course of our last year together. I never thought anything of it. I'm the type to blindly trust you 100% until you give me reason not to. Turns out, she was cheating on me with multiple dudes. Some she was even ting while we fell asleep spooning at night. This was back in 2018, and I'm still not okay. It's happened to me a few times now. And invariably, there is a seismic shift in the relationship. I can remember pinpointing the day something changed, and suddenly you aren't being texted first. They're busy and can't hang out as much, and almost always stops or becomes very infrequent. The partner seems colder, further away, and less enthusiastic. It's hard to describe, but you can feel something is off. At least, it's always been that way. In my opinion. What's worse is the times when you confront them about the change in the dynamic, and they tell you nothing's wrong, or nothing's changed, and you feel like you're going crazy because you know something off, but you don't want to push it and be needy or clingy, and you suffer silently until you push it, or the truth inevitably comes out. When you finally get off of work early for once, after working doubles, and instead of texting your boyfriend that you're on your way home, you stop and get their favorite McDonald's meal and iced coffee with your last $10 until payday as a sweet surprise "I'm home. I love you" gesture, and you're greeted in the hallway with them coming towards you with a shocked and angry look saying, "You were trying to catch me doing something," as you're standing there holding the food and drink in your hands like, "We were together 6 years before I got the guts to leave." It was only a couple weeks after that happened. Changing passwords to devices after being okay with you having access to them. Lack of intimacy over long stretches of time. No longer wanting to sleep next to you at all, go on dates, or do anything a couple would usually do. And my biggest flag is finding things that you're damn sure aren't yours, but they try to pass the item off like it's always been yours. I'll never have solid proof that I was cheated on, but my instincts were screaming it when our life went away. Then he wanted to sleep on the couch every single night. Then he started changing his passwords as my paranoia kicked in. First fight happened at this point. Next came him keeping me out of photos on purpose that he would share on his social media accounts, just in case people thought we were dating, which we were. That was when I caught him talking to someone through PS4 and online. She thought he was single. Fight 2 happened then, and I was in denial because he was gaslighting me so much. It escalated to him wanting to be gone every weekend to a buddy's house. And I was never allowed to come along, and eventually found makeup in my car after one of those pal weekends. I don't wear makeup unless it's a special occasion, usually, and when I do wear it, it's only around my eyes, so I know this didn't belong to me as it was lip gloss. Final fight, and we didn't stay together. To everyone out there, it usually starts small and gets bigger over time. Trust yourself to see the signs and leave. When you find incriminating messages and the first thing she asks you is how far you went back into the message history, she proceeds to get mad at you for violating her trust by looking at her computer even though you asked her several times, calmly and patiently, to be honest about the situation because you felt like you were going crazy. When the divorce process starts and she decides to call you at work and tell you you can't prove anything, but I let her know I took phone pics of the conversations. She flips out when I move out, and her ex-high school boyfriend, moves in right after. The month our divorce became final. They get married 3 months after. They have a child shortly after that. Anyhow, thank God it happened. Because while the feelings spicked and felt unsurvivable, I dodged a big bullet, and my current girlfriend of several years now is wonderful. And I really do feel like everything had to happen for me to end up where I ultimately needed to be. Random phone calls. Her phone will ring. Suddenly she has to go into another room to answer it. Random disappearances. She'll be gone inexplicably for hours at night with no explanation. And how dare you ask for one? You don't own her. Loss of. You either get very reduced or no at all, depending on how committed they are to keeping up the pretense that all is normal. Random emotions. Their emotional states appears to have nothing to do with you. They might be really happy or really angry, and it just comes out of the blue. Lack of interest in talking to you. Suddenly being judgmental of you, and you do is any good anymore. The real reason is because they don't actually want to be with you anymore. Wanting to go on a holiday without you and the kids, just for a break. Walking into their bedroom to ask them a question, and they scream and shove their laptop closed and collapse over it, hugging it protectively in their arms, while shaking. And that was when I knew for sure. I just walked out. So, this happened a very long time ago. I had recently filed for divorce from my ex-husband, and I began to date another guy. I was very naive about dating since I hadn't dated anyone in 20 years. This guy showered me with roses, dinners, jewelry, and he liked to drink. I didn't understand anything about binge drinking. As time went on, I started to see that it was going to be a problem. When he drank, he became a different person. And one day, he came home with a new cell phone for me, and he helped me set everything up. I didn't know at the time. He bought it so he could keep tabs on me. One day, I was in the shower getting ready for work, and he came to my house and stormed in the bathroom and ripped the shower curtain back while I was bathing. And he started yelling at me about not answering the cell phone. Then he started accusing me of cheating with my male coworkers. He terrorized me one night, drunk and out of his mind, with a gun. That was it. I did a midnight move and I was gone. I found out that he started cheating on me when he felt he couldn't control me anymore. I should have known better.